Welcome to Worriosity, where we unpack what makes you bite your nails and keeps you up at night. We are two minds, one spiral. Let's get to it.
Hello, welcome back to Worriosity. Today we are going to be talking about being a girl boss. And I actually don't like that term. I like just boss. It doesn't have to be girl boss. Being a boss. So I own my own business. You own your own business?
Yes, I do.
All right. So what are the things that we worry about with this? Because there are a lot of entrepreneurs right now. AI is changing a lot of things. And so we are now trying to figure out, how do we make a living and do things in this changing environment? So what are some of the things you worry about with your business?
Wow, I mean,
It's a big question.
it's a big question and it's a very long list, but I think it helps to start with I have very different worries, I think, than other entrepreneurs because I had the privilege of starting my business while having a very stable, really wonderful full-time job. I've been very lucky working at the place that I work, and I love every minute of it. And it's afforded me the opportunity to go, hey, you know what? I actually want to try something I'm really passionate about and feel really secure while doing it. So the normal worries that I think business owners face are not necessarily the ones that I've been facing. Mine have really been more about time and balance. So I know we talk about family a lot, even already on this podcast. And I think about my life and the people that I spend time with. And I've found being a business owner, especially while working a full-time job, the worry has been really about navigating the time spent with others.
Can we actually have it all?
Yeah.
The eternal question for women.
I know.
Right?
I know. I mean, you could even say like the eternal question for everyone, but women especially, I feel like we navigate this challenge of, you know, being around family. And even though I've mentioned before I don't have kids, trying to spend time with my sister, my boyfriend, my niece, my nephew, all of the many friends that I've acquired over the years from moving, it's very challenging. And it's been a very big worry of mine because I want this big dream of, you know, owning my own business and doing what I'm doing. But then how do you balance the rest of it?
Well, so what's interesting, so talking about your situation right now, and I do this as well, is that it's not your full-time job, and so much more is happening in this sort of gig economy, right? So people are juggling a bunch of different things at the same time. And so then you work with the work-life balance, but then you're also trying to figure out being good at what you're doing, right?
Oh, definitely.
And so then at what point do you think you would decide to just go all in on your business, on being the boss you want to be?
Well, that's $1 million question, isn't it? You know, I get this actually a lot. What are my plans? And, you know, I've definitely thought about it before, right? I mean, how could you not when you have something that's really successful and whatnot? But it's been a really challenging economy. And like I said before, I've loved working where I'm working. So I guess to your point, like how do you make that move? And I guess that's another worry that I've had. Like if I were to do that, it'd be giving up something that I'm really passionate about as well. So how do you choose which passion to go for? So I end up just balancing both.
Right. Okay. In other words, overload.
Yeah.
We all have a little bit of overload.
Yeah. Burnout, anybody? Has anyone heard of it? Yeah.
No, and that's fair. I mean, I'm juggling a number of different things. So I own my own business with college counseling, and I write for magazines, and I write books, and I'm doing that kind of stuff as well. And we came from a family who owned their own business. We come from a family who, like extended family, owns restaurants and stores, and we came from a family who owned a mini golf. Our parents owned a miniature golf course with a frozen yogurt shop, a go-kart track, and video games inside. So it was this was in Central Florida, tourism capital of the world, I believe still. But it was interesting because I always sort of felt like I would own my own business. That was something I grew up always thinking I would.
Same,
So
definitely.
I've worked for other people, but then once I had kids, I decided to kind of go out on my own and be a little more independent. So I have one son who's 21. I'm not old enough to have a 21-year-old. What? And
She doesn't look old enough to have a 21-year-old.
And then an 18-year-old daughter. And since they were born, I've been kind of doing this gig economy where just picking up little jobs, running my own small sort of businesses, I guess. I had an etiquette school at one
Oh
point.
my gosh, the etiquette school was so fun. All these little kids running around, learning about the best way to sit at a dining room table and eat. It was awesome.
My favorite thing that I did with them was, well, I had a couple of favorite things. One I loved was doing airplane etiquette, because I know we talk about flying a lot. This is one of our things. But one thing that drives me crazy is when you are on an airplane and it's time to get off. It's time to disembark. And everybody jumps up and they're ready to just go, instead of one aisle at a time, just like you're supposed to, right? So in my little etiquette class, I would have all the kids in the room and we would set up like airplane aisles, and I would show them, like, let's walk through how you should get your bags out, how you should exit the plane, so that you're not jumping in front of others and making everybody uncomfortable, and no kicking seats and all that kind of stuff.
I was going to say that's something that can benefit you even outside of an airplane. I mean, yeah, you're using an airplane as that example, but what about every time you go into an auditorium, or you go to a movie theater, or you go you follow a certain protocol when you're leaving your seats. It's a good thing to teach young children.
Yes. So I had a lot of fun with that. But then when the pandemic hit, we couldn't all be in the same room doing things together, and so I started really shifting my focus more to the college counseling stuff, and I absolutely love it. But there are these sort of worries that come with it. You know, how am I going to make it bigger? How am I going to make sure that I please all of my clients? And how am I going to make sure that I feel good about, you know, every step of the way of the things that I'm doing? Do you come across that where you feel like you...
I definitely do. And I think, you know, kind of the thing that everyone shies away from, the money aspect of business ownership, is when you're first getting started, you want to please everyone. To your point about pleasing clients, it's like you want to have everyone like you, have everyone sign on with you. So you're very competitive with your pricing, sometimes a little bit lower than you should be, honestly. But you're doing that because you're worried about your business's success, and then it contributes long term to that burnout you were talking about, because you're doing all this work, you're doing all these things, you've sort of undervalued yourself without realizing that you've done it.
A lot of moms do this too.
A lot of moms do this. And
I mean, I can't tell you how many women, wonderfully educated, fantastic women I know, that undervalue like their worth when they're pricing, you know, teaching lessons for something, or, you know, there's so many things that we do when we have kids and we're trying to balance time with them. So a lot of women will work from home or try to do these other things. And that is something, even with, like you said, even with my own pricing, I worry about this a lot. And it's like, you know, I'll go back to the girl boss thing, because I said I wanted to just be boss. If we were men, would they worry as much about the pricing as we do? Like,
no, probably not.
And maybe not undervalue ourselves as much as we do.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a difference between men and women for that, because I feel like oftentimes there's this just innate confidence sometimes in men where they they come out guns a-blazing, and like we are not always that type of person. So I think we should come in with that energy for future things for sure, because we have a lot of value to bring. And to your point about motherhood, I think that's because society has told us, like, oh, when you're out of the workforce for a while and you're raising children and you're not, you know, putting the time in for your career, that all of a sudden you're taking a step back or just starting where you are. But you've learned so many other things and other skills, and you've put yourself so much into your family that those things can definitely translate to your career. So it is a challenge. I've definitely seen that with moms, and I try to avoid that in my own life when working with people, to make sure that they also see like the value that they're bringing to the table when we're working together.
Yeah. Well, and I think one way to be a stronger business owner, entrepreneur, boss, is to, in the lead up to it, getting involved in the community. I feel like that the community work that I've done, where I've volunteered, I've been on boards, I've done these sort of things where the skills, like you were saying, the skills actually helped me be better at putting my business together.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
I learned with money management and, you know, just sort of community skills, that sort of thing, to network, you know, like that kind of thing. So that's kind of important. But see, let's talk about it for a minute. In terms of what we worry about, because this is Worriosity after all, is the networking part. Now, you are super good at this.
I do not worry about networking.
No. Caitlin can walk into any room. She might not know anybody, and she can walk right up and just jump right into the conversation. Hi, I'm Caitlin. And then she's friends with everybody before she leaves. I would probably describe myself like an introverted extrovert.
Totally.
Where I can be very subdued, very quiet. The people who know me don't think that, but the people who don't know me might think that I'm a kind of quiet and just to myself, right? But then once I'm comfortable and I get to know people, then it's like, okay, now I can chat and laugh and have fun and bring more to the table. So
definitely,
the networking is something that I struggle with. And I am 49, almost 50, but I still have plenty of time. Not till November. And so
it's like mid-August, but yeah, plenty of time.
Plenty of time. And so I know that I do struggle with that. And so my tip to you is, if you want to get out there and really push yourself and go to networking events, find yourself a Caitlin, because that's what I do.
She attaches.
She attaches, yes. And then it's really nice because she will introduce me to some people, and then she just walks away, and then I have to do the rest myself, which actually has been amazing. It's actually been something that's really, really helped me. So if you struggle with that, which is, like I said, something that I do, you just got to kind of push through that fear. I'm trying to teach my kids to do that. You know, my son is now talking about graduate school interviews or jobs, you know, that sort of thing, and he's pushing himself sometimes even more than I do. Like, you get into like a comfortable spot. But if you want to be a true boss, you got to get out there and just be fine talking to everybody and anybody and making those connections. And what I have found, it's not about, you know, trying to get something from somebody. I genuinely enjoy meeting the new people, making connections in my community, because it's fun.
It is fun, and it's actually something I think you'll find this very surprising, but I did have a brief moment where I was really nervous about networking.
When?
Okay, so I think a lot of people, our listeners, can relate to this. Is after COVID, we were at home a lot. We had our little circle. My circle included Kat and my roommate and my boyfriend and his parents. It was very, very small bubble.
We did have our pod.
Yes, we definitely had a pod. And we did that for, a year? Almost a year? Like, more?
It's hard to look back on that. I'm sure you all can agree that we all went through some things.
Yeah, right? I mean, how many podcasts do you listen to and they're like, in the pandemic? Well, guess what? We're one of them. Mm-hmm. And when we got out of that moment, I was terrified because I hadn't done it in so long. You know, it's sort of it's not exactly like riding a bike, right? Like, you wobble a little bit when it comes to
a mental bike ride.
Yeah, the mental bike ride of networking. Like, I definitely had some wobbly moments when I got back out there because I realized that I hadn't exercised that part of my brain in a long time. So I found myself saying like a couple weird things here and there, or I mean,
and as it's coming out of your mouth, you want to go,
yeah. Well, can we rewind? That was not good. But it was just so different because for so long I was talking to the people that I was most comfortable with, and now all of a sudden I'm meeting essentially a stranger, and it's just like word vomit coming out, and I just remember being like, oh no, like I need to do this more often, because I was and this is maybe a weird reaction to have, I was like, no, this was the best part of me, is how I felt, and all of a sudden I'm such a mess when it comes to networking that I'm like, oh, I need to do this more to get back to where I was. Because to your point, Kat, like, I'm the one that introduces. I'm the one that, like, goes to a bunch of different events. I'm very integrated in the community. So when I notice this about myself, I'm like, oh, no, like, this is a big part of myself. I can't let that go.
My gosh. And so imagine kids who haven't really developed the social skills as much as you already had, and then you're saying in that period of time that you kind of, like, lost them. That's a hard one.
It is
hard.
Yeah,
but you know, I've been to a few events with you recently. I think you've recovered quite nicely.
Thanks.
But I can actually see that's true.
It's good news.
Yeah, it's true. Because you don't want to be saying any more weird stuff if you can avoid it.
No. Especially now that I have started that business. Woof. You do not need to. Don't need to be doing that out and about. So.
No, it's great. Practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah, and it does. It just like anything, it requires practice. So to your point about your son and that growth as he's in college and whatnot, yeah, you just have to do it over and over and over again, and then that's when it gets the easiest. And I'll say that for you too, Kat. When I take you and I introduce you and leave you, eventually one day she'll just do it herself, right?
I do sometimes.
Yeah.
I do sometimes without you. And so, yes, she's not entirely my crutch.
Yeah.
But I do this sometimes on my own. Yes, I know how. I know how to. I mean, I have had a successful life so far. Relatively, right. But it's just kind of a lot of fun to go out and do those things together. But so now let me ask you, because we always like to talk about the generational difference. 15 years apart, as we had mentioned in another episode. But do you feel like that being a boss, do you think it's different at my age than it is at your age?
I do.
Do you? How? Like, what do you mean? Because there's, I mean, I see really young bosses out there, and then I see really old bosses out there. And I feel like you can do it at any age. But what do you think the difference is?
So one of the things I've noticed, and you can correct me if you feel like I'm wrong, but I feel like your generation still had a bit of the, like, work from home or, like, stay-at-home mom mentality. And I feel like millennials and younger are really starting to, like, kind of get away from that, where they want their careers while also having children or not having children. So, like, the family...
I don't know about that completely. It might be just, where we are. I don't know. Maybe, like, my neighborhood geographically or something
I would totally
like that.
be interested in seeing those statistics, because I do, having this, like, rather large age gap between us, I do think that seeing how kind of, like, your friends and the people near you have kind of, like, approached their lives and motherhood and their careers and whatnot, it did seem like a lot took, like, a big gap or did certain, you know what I mean?
That could just be, like, geographical, like, where we live, and that's sort of, like, anybody who is sort of making the same choices kind of, like, congregate in the same situation.
True. Yeah, because then you have your community.
Right. So that's possible. Or, like, because I was basically working from home all the time, I found the other moms who were
that's true.
That's why you see that. But then, because I actually do know a lot of career moms as well. That when I say career moms, I mean, that's not the right word. That's what I mean. More like the women who had to go into an office every day.
Yeah.
That was, I have tons of friends that are like that too. Yeah. So I think that the women that I've surrounded myself with are in all walks of life. Some who go into an office every day, some who've created businesses where they're able to work from home, or a mix, where they, can split the time. But yeah, I'm not sure. Or should I just wrong? No. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wrong.
I mean,
no.
I don't know. I wonder if there's, like, statistics around it.
There
and
probably
whatnot.
are. Yeah.
I'd be interested in reading that, just because I do feel like, there's another kind of push in my age where I'm noticing less people having children, or people having less children.
Yes, and I think your generation also do it later. They do.
They're definitely doing
a longer time. Have kids a little bit later.
Yeah, and so I noticed, again, bringing up the pandemic, that a lot of people, they weren't necessarily on track to start their own businesses or be, like, the boss. But after all of that kind of went down, they took that as an opportunity to try it out. And now there are so many bosses, especially, and I'll say it in my field, in marketing, I feel like it boomed so much because of the needs of the time, where people weren't going places. They needed to reach people on their phones, which everyone was glued to. And that market just completely boomed. And so you just have all of these bosses popping up and starting their own businesses. And I think that happened with a lot of people. And so, to your point, people are having children later. They're starting their own businesses, I think, a little more frequently. And, kind of taking that chance.
They're getting their courage, and I love it.
Yes.
I love it, because I want people to go after their dreams.
Me too.
I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me proud to know other people who are doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And instead of sitting and, kind of staying in the thing that maybe doesn't bring you joy, finding the thing that does bring you joy. And
that's right. If it doesn't exist for you, do it yourself. That's what being a boss is all about.
Yes, it is what being a boss. And we've done that. We've done that.
Well, what do you think? Did we cover the bases?
I think we covered the bases. Not a lot of extra worry here, just like the ones that really keep you, like the burnout and whatnot. I think that's the biggest one. I mean,
balance. It's the constant worry. And I think with any job, with any type of family, you have to balance it and give yourself like a sense of well-being in the middle of it, and that's hard too. That necessary self-care. Yeah. You gotta make sure you incorporate that into it. But this applies to everybody. Whether you consider yourself a boss or not, I think it applies to everybody.
It does. And just, making sure that what you are doing really truly brings you joy, because if it doesn't, then why are you doing it?
We don't want you to be worried about not having enough joy. We want you to have the joy.
We do. And we want to have joy.
That's right. That's right. And you know what brings me joy? This podcast brings me joy. And I hope it brings you joy as well. So I'm so glad you joined us this week. We'll be back next week with something else to worry about, or actually to talk about worrying about, but then brush it off.
Brush it off.
Yeah. Make yourself feel better about it. And I hope you feel better about going out there and being a boss.
Yes.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.